What's going on, world? It's your main man, Kareem A. Rashid, the voice and your host of Clearing the Wreckage. Yes, we've got another great episode in store for you today. Once again, I don't know what you got going on. You could be driving to work, but all I ask is that you please pay attention to the road. Or you could be at work on a lunch break trying to get a quick sneak peek into this episode. Please be sure to clock back in on time. Yes! Or you could be doing something that is very important, to me at least, and that is on the toilet. Please be sure to flush. Yes! I love it. I love it. What's going on, world? What's going on, Wreckage Clearers? What's up, Wreckage Clearing community? We are back again for another great episode of Clearing the Wreckage Podcast. Yes, indeed. And we are at our coffee shop, our favorite one that we like to meet at, right? You got your macchiato or your latte or whatever it is that you get. I got my cafe Americano, and I'm like, what's up? I ain't seen you in about a week. Let's talk. And you're like, man, I got so much to share with you, Kareem. But first, I would love for you to share with me what is on your mind. I know you've been telling me the story. I am so interested in hearing more of it. I am anticipating that you have received your wings and you are out of that cocoon. Please tell me that you are now a butterfly. And I'm like, hey, man, I still got a little bit more to tell you about that, though. Let's just have a seat. Let's talk. And you're like, oh, gosh, I am listening ears. I am all ears. I am here. I just want to hear you share this. I am so excited. And you've been coming back to me every single week. Devoted, loyal. So for that, I want to say thank you so much for being such a great listener. Someone who downloads these episodes, someone who shares this content with other people, someone who subscribes, who watches these crazy YouTube videos of me making all types of facial expressions. I am so glad. And with that, that is me saying thank you, by the way. Thank you. I want to thank you if you are a new listener and you're you just joined this community and you're like, what? Man, I want to be a part of this. This is amazing. Like, I'm interested in actually clearing the wreckage out of my life. Well, I'm here to tell you you're in the right spot and you are with the right group of people. Because we about clearing the wreckage around these parts, ain't we? Yes. Well, what are we going to talk about today, Kareem? Well, we talked last week about stop fighting, trust the process. Stop fighting, and obviously, the stop fighting meant that I was fighting the wrong way. I was fighting myself. I was filled with self-hatred. I was filled with resentment. I was fighting myself because little did I know I was the one that was causing and creating all of the wreckage. A little birdie actually told me that I am the problem. You thought that would have clicked, right? But it did not. I continued to try to escape while the darkness was surrounding me in my chrysalis stage, or while I was in the cocoon, let's say that. And I was filled with anguish. Why are all these people leaving me? Why did my mentor pass away? Why did my ex-fiance leave? Why did all this stuff happen during my childhood? As I'm going to therapy, I'm realizing all of this stuff. I'm sober and clean, and I'm realizing that all of these feelings and anxiety and everything is so heightened. Because I have nothing to escape to. And then finally one day I said, screw it. I had one of those moments that I would like to call a F it moment. Yes. Where I just said, screw it. I need to drink. And I did. And I started fighting the process. The process of me becoming a butterfly. I said, I do not want to be in this cocoon. Let me out. Why is all of this happening to me? Why am I in isolation? Why am I the only one that understands, the only one that understands what I am going through? No one understands me. No one gets me. That whole victim mentality, the depression came about. You know all of this. I shared all of this with you. And so now we're at the part of the story where it was time to let go and let God. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It was time for me to let go and allow something bigger, something greater than I fulfill the purpose of turning me into a butterfly. Relax. You're inside of this chrysalis stage. There is nothing you can do. Absolutely nothing you can do about it. There is no escaping this process. Remember how I shared with you that the caterpillar cannot skip the metamorphosis stage. They cannot skip it. And so there I was as a caterpillar trying my best to skip that metamorphosis because of all the growing pains. Hear me clearly, please. The growing pains that I was going through at the time was very, very painful. And I did not know at that time that they were just growing pains. And this was part of the process. Must I stop fighting and trust it? Must I go through this process? It hurts way too much. You ever have something in your life where it's just so painful? You're like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to deal with this. I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this. I don't know what it could have been in your life. You know, for me, it was death. For me, it was someone leaving me, and it was death. And then it was all these other symptoms that I was having from my PTSD, anxiety, depression. It was just complete darkness, and I needed to see the light. You know, I was singing a song today. So I was singing a song today because it was raining and it was dark and I was working and it was dark outside and I was like, why is it so dark today? I just want some light. Why is it so dark today? I just want some light. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you got to sing through it. It was dark and gloomy out there today. I just wanted to see the light. And during this time of the process, I truly was yearning to see the light, but I was fighting the wrong way. I was trying to escape the cocoon to see the light, but I kept getting put back in that cocoon by that power greater than me because there's no escaping it. There is no escaping it. So I realized I was fighting the wrong fight. I was fighting against myself. I was trying to fight against my own thoughts. And I was also fighting against something and things that I had no control over. I had no control over my mentor passing away. I had no control over my ex-fiance leaving, getting taken away. I had no control over some of the things that happened in my childhood. I had no control over those things that I shared with you before. If you listen from episode 1 all the way up to now, you've heard the story. And I truly had no control over my addiction. Let me explain. I have a disease. Let me explain this even further for those that are listening that may not have the disease of addiction, but just may have a few hang-ups here and there. You may have some wreckage here and there, but may not have that wreckage that I have. So let me clear the air and let it be known that addiction is a disease. Here is why addiction is considered a disease. Are you ready? For one, it involves the changing of my brain. The first thing that happens is our reward system gets hijacked. Yes, your brain has a reward system. Did you know that? Let me give you an analogy or an example. When you go to the movies, aren't you thinking of something that goes with you sitting down at that movie theater? Maybe popcorn, soda, candy, etc. These certain foods release dopamine into your brain, as it is with addiction. These substances flood the brain, alcohol and drugs flood the brain, those substances, and the chemical dopamine floods it. And it floods the brain's reward system with an excessive amount of dopamine, by the way. Much more than natural rewards such as food, the food that we just talked about. Popcorn, soda, candy, I'm at the movies, this goes with it, I must have it. Yes. So imagine yourself going to the movie. Let's take it a little bit deeper. And sitting down, going to the movie and just saying, all right, I'm just going to go and enjoy this movie. And you go in, you give your ticket, and you walk into the theater where the movie's playing, and you sit down with nothing in your hand. I guarantee you, 30 minutes in, not even 30 minutes in, 5 minutes in, you're going to start itching. You're going to start itching. Oh, man, maybe soda, popcorn, candy, something. I need something. That is your brain's reward system going ding, 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 ding. Hey, when we're here at the movie, we reward ourselves with popcorn, soda, candy. Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we doing that? Ding, 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 ding. Why aren't we doing that? That's what your brain is doing. I'm trying to give an example. That's what your brain is. I just wanted to give you a really great example. So when it comes to addiction, if I don't have a drink, my brain is going, dee, 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 dee. Hey, what are you doing? Why aren't you drinking? We don't have alcohol. We don't have drugs. That's what my brain is doing. I know I'm giving a weird sound, but that's I'm trying to give you an example. So that is the first thing that happens. The reward system is hijacked. It's hijacked. It's taken over. It's taken over with an excessive amount of dopamine. So now it's like, ding, 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 ding. I need that. I need that. Ding, 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 ding. Dopamine. I need it. Ding, 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 ding. How come you're not? Yeah. And so the whole brain, the next thing happens, gets rewired. It gets rewired, right? Because it receives repeated exposure to the substance, the alcohol or the drug, and it alters the brain circuits, weakening the areas involved in judgment, which can involve decision-making as well and self-control. I just said to you, I was fighting against something I had no control over. Now, it also deals with cravings and compulsion, right? So the craving and compulsion in your brain changes as well. These brain changes drive intense cravings and a compulsive need to use, even when recognizing the harm that it causes. Even when I recognized the wreckage that it was causing, I said, screw it. When I decided to take that first drink after 3 years of not drinking and drugging, 3 years of not grabbing alcohol and using a drug, I said, screw it, I'm going to drink. What do you think happened? Just like that, the craving after I sipped that first drink and the compulsion to drink more, even though I knew. I said, wait a second, I've been here before. This stuff had me in jail. This stuff had me on the streets homeless. This stuff has broken up relationships. This stuff has caused wreckage between my family, between my mom, my dad, my siblings. This stuff, screw it, who cares? I've already had one drink, now I need another and another and another and another, and now let's go do some hard drugs, please. Cravings and compulsion. I'm sharing this for you so that you can get a sense of what addiction truly is, because some of you may not know that this is something that is out of my control. Here are some of the signs and the symptoms, and we've discussed it in almost every episode. So I'm just going to list some of them, and I've already went over cravings with you, so I don't have to say cravings again, but I've already went over the loss of control, the tolerance, right? So when I started drinking at that early age, my tolerance level built up. My tolerance level increased and increased and increased over time. There's also withdrawal symptoms, discomfort when stopping or reducing the use of alcohol or drugs. There's negative consequences. And there's the neglect of responsibility. Oh, I'm not going to work today. Nope. Not going to work. Nuh-uh. Let me call in and say that I'm sick. Those are things that I did. Risky behavior, yeah. Stealing things, becoming a thief. I was a thief. I became a thief. I did crazy things. Secretive behavior. You know, I can't say where I'm actually going with your car, Mom. So let me make up a lie and say that I need to go to a recovery meeting, even though that's not where I'm going to the liquor store. Yeah, I did that. So it also causes relationship issues, changes in appearance, neglecting personal hygiene. There were days and where I would not take a shower, I would not brush my teeth. I would wake up and I would drink first, and I would go about my day. There's plenty of mood swings that are symptoms, outbursts in anger, irritation, and of course financial problems. I went into full-blown debt by my choices. And there's multiple influential factors as well that I would like to share about that. Here are some of the factors that come into play when it comes to the disease of addiction. Genetics is the first one. Maybe there's someone in your family. Maybe there's a history down the line of someone who has been addicted to drugs and alcohol. I have someone in my family that was, and so it came in from down the line. Your environment can actually be an influence to you. You can start hanging around the wrong crowd, as I did when I was young. I hung out with the OGs. They taught me the game. Yes, that environment had much influence on my alcohol use, on my drug use. Development can also be an influential factor, which for me, obviously it was, because I started drinking at a very early age as an adolescent while my brain was still trying to develop. And then arrested development comes into play, which has lasting consequences. And then there's mental health conditions, mental health disorders like depression, anxiety, or PTSD are common with addiction. What do you know? The person that is doing this podcast and getting coffee with you every single week and letting you know about the disease of addiction has all three of those mental health conditions. Who? Yep. Uh-huh. So letting go was part of me trusting the process, part of it being a process. So let's talk about how it started. It all happened when I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. Let me explain a little bit more. It basically happened one night when I realized, I became aware of what I was actually partaking in and the consequences and why I was partaking in it. So I became aware. Now, so with that being said, I'm going to give you 4 A's that I want you to write down right now, and I want you to maybe even journal about them as well. Okay? Because these 4 A's, these 4 A's are the A's that help me clear the wreckage. First A is awareness. So, February 21st, 2016, I became aware. That night, my mind became aware of all the chaos, all the havoc, and wreckage. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Also, I became aware that this was not working for me anymore. I am drained. I am depressed. I am idolizing suicide. I'm not idolizing. I'm sorry. I am having ideals of suicide, I should say. I became aware of all of that. And becoming aware of all of that helped me start the process of letting go. Now, let's also talk about the other A, acknowledging. I had to acknowledge that, man, I am scared. I am scared. I am so scared. And what am I scared of? I'm scared. And I don't know how I'm going to get through this without taking a drink. Yeah. So that, and then we have admittance. I had to admit that I am the problem. Remember that journal entry I shared with you last week, I think it was. I shared a journal entry with you last week that basically was me admitting. It was me confessing. It was me saying, hey, this is who I am. These are the mistakes that I've made. I've been a liar. I've been a manipulator. I've used alcohol. I've used drugs. I've relapsed. I've done all these things. I had to come to a place of admittance. And then the last A I'm going to share with you is acceptance. After I came to becoming aware of all this crap that I caused, right? After I became aware of that, I became sick and tired. I was aware that I'm sick, I'm tired, I am sick. I became aware of that as well. Also became aware that it was not working for me when I became aware of all of this and realized that this has to stop. I had to acknowledge it after that man, I don't know how to stop. I want to stop, but I am scared and I don't know how I'm going to get through without taking a drink. And let's pause right there. Let me share a story with you also, because actually the process didn't just start February 21st. It started before that. But I'm stating to you, on that night, I became completely aware. I also acknowledged. I also admitted. I also accepted everything fully that night. But before that, the process was starting. The process of letting go was already starting. Because I remember going to my therapist in one of the sessions that I had and saying to her, I cannot stop. I cannot stop. That was me becoming aware of the fact that this is something I have no control over. Once I start, I cannot stop. And so on my own, I was already becoming aware of that. And then I was already acknowledging the fact that, man, I know that I can't stop, but I am so scared to stop. Because this is all I know. All I know to do is partake in this wreckage. I am filled with wreckage. I am filled with destruction. I am filled with chaos. And I don't have any other identity except that. How will I succeed? I will only know that I am a failure. Right? That's what I was scared of. I was so afraid of all of that. then I had to admit, man, this is who I became. These are the things that I was doing. And then I had to accept it. In order to let the power greater than me take over, I had to accept. I had to accept not only the help when my therapist said, hey, why don't you try this group? Why don't you try this group instead of this group? You've been going to this group, and why don't you try a different one? And so I tried a different support group. I had to accept that that wasn't working for me. I had to accept that everything that I have been doing up until that point has not been working for me. It has led to the creation of more havoc, more destruction, and more wreckage. I had to accept that, yes, I am the problem, and none of this is no one else's fault. Once I admitted that it is no one's fault, this is all inside of me. This is a disease that I have no control over. I had to accept that as well. I have a disease of addiction. There is no cure for this. All I can do is try my best to go moment by moment without taking a drink, without escaping back to my old behaviors. What is it for you that you need to become aware of, that you need to acknowledge, and that you need to admit, and you need to accept? Because there's such a beautiful part of acceptance that I did not share with you that we need to come into, that needs to come into play right now. I accept all of the wonderful things that are going to take place in my life now that I've decided to stop. I accept the help that is coming into my life now that I decided to stop. I accept the hope that is now coming to my life now that I've decided to stop. I accept the love that is now going to come into my life that I've decided to stop. I accept the courage that is going to come into my life now that I've started to stop. Now that I've become aware that this crap ain't working no more. It's just a bunch of wreckage that needs to be cleared. I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that I'm scared, though. I'm scared to clear this wreckage because this is all I know. This is all I have. This is all I ever known. What am I going to do without it? Oh my God, it's going to be so hard to go forever without this. What am I going to do when the pain hits again? What am I going to do? Acknowledge, man. If you're scared, acknowledge it. And then I had to admit, I'm repeating this for a reason. Are you writing this down? And then I had to admit, I have blew it. I made a boo-boo. I made a boo-boo. I made a mistake. I made a mistake. But for me, my mistake turned into a blessing. My mistake turned into an opportunity that I can grow from. See, relapse for me was part of the process. But it does not have to be yours. But for me, it was part of the process. And I also think that relapse is just part of the process for anything. It doesn't have to necessarily be addiction, but it could even be a relationship that you know is toxic. It's time for you to become aware of that. You are aware of it, but you need to acknowledge that you're scared to leave that person. I am so scared to leave because I don't know anything. I don't know who is going to love me the way that this man or this woman loves me. I'm so scared. Admit it. Acknowledge it. Then admit that. I'm sorry. Acknowledge it and then admit it. I tend to settle for these type of men or these type of women who are just toxic for me. I created this. I am the problem, not this person. It is me that is attracted to this type of man or woman. It is me that falls in love quickly for this person. You have to admit that. Then you accept that, yes, I have something, a complex about me that attracts me to these people. I accept that. And I also accept the help that I'm about to receive once I decide to leave this man or this woman. I accept the hope that there is someone else out there for me that will bring me into the best version of myself instead of this toxic crap that I'm experiencing. I accept this person for who they are because it's not on them. It is on me, and I accept that. And being that I accept that, now I can change and I can walk away from this relationship. I don't know. It could be a relationship. It could be food. I mean, it could be it could be ice cream. It could be it could be sugar. Like for me, I was addicted to sugar as well. I'll share that in a later episode anyway. But you know, and you're going to have the tendency to want to go back to that environment or atmosphere because it is what is the norm. It is the norm for you. So relapse may just be part of the process. And you have to be willing to commit long term. Because see, here is some of the things that you can do to manage the wreckage. You got to commit. If you're a part of this community, you're committed. You need to go ahead and be committed. Every single week, I'm listening to Kareem, and I got to hear what he has to share because, yes, he is also sharing a story, but I'm identifying it. I'm identifying with it. I am committed to listening to this guy because this guy has some experience, and he has some hope with his story that is helping me in my journey, whether it's recovery from addiction or whether it's recovery from a relationship or whether it is just I got so much wreckage that I've created in my life that I need to clear. I mean, I have a problem with anger. I have a problem with outbursts of anger. I have a problem with being irritated too easily. I have a problem with judging people. Whatever it is, are you willing to commit long term? Yes. So that's all I got for you today. As you know, I am now a butterfly. So on the next episode, I will be flying through the air somewhere. As I share with you, I'll arrive at our coffee shop as a butterfly. Anyway, I just wanted to encourage you on the journey that I took and the process of how it was letting go and allowing the power greater than myself to restore me, to redeem me. I mean, every part of me, my health, my brain, all of this stuff has been restored today, as I have been, sober for over 9 years, one day at a time, only through the power that is greater than myself, and that one is God Almighty. Yes, indeed. And I give God all the glory for what has happened inside of me. It's God who has taught me and helped me and brought people into my life that helped me to clear the wreckage. And now I have the opportunity to share the story with you so that you have a chance to begin clearing the wreckage as well with me and walking alongside of me in this journey. Now, I do want to share with you a little juicy tidbit. There was one thing that I did do that night that I forgot to share with you. There was this movie that I decided to watch. Remember I told you I was fighting the wrong way? So there was this movie that I came across. I just happened to be scrolling, and I came across the movie, and I decided to watch it. And I watched that movie, and that movie changed my perspective, changed my thought process on how I was fighting. And I was able to, after that movie, I created a closet, and I cleared that closet out, and I said, this is where I'm going to clear the wreckage. This is what I did. This is going to be my place where the wreckage begins to clear every single morning. If I want to go in there at night, I can go in there at night. But it's going to be my place of solitude, a little place in my home of refuge where I can surrender and let God. I can let go of all the stuff that happened during the day. I can go in there, I can write in my journal, and I can allow God to work through me. If you want to know more about that process, message me at Clearing the Wreckage podcast or on Instagram. You can DM me and I will tell you a little bit more about that process. But the process was simple. I would take my prayers, I would write prayers down while I was in that closet. I would write them down and I would place them on the wall. And what happened over time is my closet space became filled with prayers and thanksgiving, and I even had affirmations written down, and I am powerful, I am strong, different things to help me get through each day. And it was definitely a way of letting go in the morning time, and a way of allowing and letting God take over my life. I appreciate you guys. I thank you so much for listening to me go on and on about my wreckage, but I also appreciate you listening on how I've cleared it. Make sure you wrote down the 4 A's, and make sure you DM me on Instagram at Clearing the Wreckage Podcast, and we'll be back next week for another great episode. Also, don't forget to share this episode with your friends. Share it on your Instagram stories. And don't forget to follow me. All right? I love you guys. And as I always leave you, take some time to look inside so that the wreckage can begin to clear. Peace.